Well, again, welcome everyone to QATV's 25th anniversary. Again, it's great to have you all here. And again, just a short program to give our thanks to some people and give thanks to all of you, our volunteers and members. Again, it's been 25 years, thousands of hours of programming, and more importantly, thousands of hours of volunteer hours have been given to QATV to make sure the program can get out to the residents of Quincy, whether it's election night coverage, football, soccer, different sports, or things in the studio that are produced by you, our members and our volunteers. That's why we're here tonight, for the success that we have of Quincy Access TV. So a round of applause for all of you, our volunteers and members. Again, we thank you here. I just want to introduce a few people here tonight. And first, I want to introduce the City Council President, Councilor at Large, Nina Liang. Nina, if you would like to come up for a second.
Glad I only had a glass of wine. Thank you. No, good evening, everyone. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here on behalf of my colleagues on the City Council. I'd like to recognize Ward 5 Councilor Chuck Phelan, who's here. And at-large Councilor Noel DeBona. And also, I'm sure they'll be mentioned as well, but I do want to mention my neighbor, very good friend, State Representative Bruce Ayers. And I think my favorite senator across the state, Senator John Keenan. I'll keep this short as well. I just want to say, my mom doesn't speak English that well. She moved here when she was 19. But every time I go home, she always says, I saw you on QATV. And I share that because she's just one of many people in this community who have moved here and decided to call Quincy home. And she stays up to date with what's going on here in the community, despite her limited English, because of what you provide. So on behalf of my mom, my family, and all of the new folks here in the city that call Quincy home, from the bottom of our hearts, happy anniversary and thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up State Representative Bruce Ayers for a few words. Bruce, if you would, please.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be here tonight to help celebrate and support this special milestone anniversary. I want to bring the greetings from the Massachusetts House of Representatives on behalf of my colleagues. I want to just share a quick story with you. I was thinking about it the other night. One time I got a call, not too long ago. It was a gentleman who had called the State House, and he was complaining. He was complaining about his cable bill. And he was complaining about the packages that don't all kind of intertwine. And he was frustrated to find out some of the regulations that was going on. So he says to me, I'm thinking about getting rid of the whole package and just going back to basic cable, because I'm watching more and more of QATV. And he went on to tell me why. He liked to watch the high school football games because some of the kids in the neighborhood are on the football team. He liked to watch the health show with Ruth Jones, and he liked to watch the government channel to find out what was going on at City Hall. And the more I think about it, we can all appreciate what he was going through. And it kind of demonstrates the importance of QATV and the role it plays in the community. And I think it also demonstrates the people behind the scenes that produce the show. And we all know they get many, many awards, that even national awards, to attest to that. So as a state legislator in the city, I'm awful proud to present this state citation to Quincy Access TV in recognition of celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary, 25th, let's try this again. And I didn't have any wine. Quincy Access Television, in recognition of celebrating your 25th anniversary of serving the city of Quincy by providing the communication services to residents, government bodies, schools, nonprofit agencies. And it's signed by the entire delegation, myself, Representative Dan Hunt, Representative Taki Chan, and of course the Speaker of the House, Ronald Mariano. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bruce. We appreciate it. And of course, we appreciate all the legislative members coming into QATV and giving updates to the citizens of Quincy and distributing that out through the city as well. Next, another member of the state delegation, State Senator John Keaton.
Thanks, John. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and to join with all of you this evening. When I'm out and about and I hear from so many people, whether it's at events like this or whether it's at office hours when people come to talk about government, you hear all the time that they don't know who to trust in the media. They listen to this network or watch this network. They watch that network. They saw this here. They saw this online. And they find it all somewhat confusing because it's coming at them from every angle. Well, QATV is unique because what they give you, what you see is what you get. There's no filter, there's no bias. They just bring you what's happening in the city of Quincy. And in this day and age, it's as important as it has ever been. And from a political standpoint, you often hear about politicians who say something, and incredibly nowadays, even when it's all recorded, they'll say, I didn't say that, or it was taken out of context. With QATV, it's right there. There's no hiding for us, and that's a really, really good thing. So I want to say congratulations to QATV, to everybody who works so hard to put the programming on the air, to keep the citizens of Quincy informed, and to entertain them as well. Because some of the shows are really, really well done. Not some of them, all of them are really well done. And the commercials for taking out the trash and everything, just top notch. And those are the types of things that have gained QATV national recognition. They truly are the best. They do an incredible job, and we're so lucky to have them. So congratulations, and I have a citation from the Massachusetts State Senate to QATV. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Quincy Access Television in recognition of 25 years of providing informative and educational public access television to the great city of Quincy. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted to the Clerk of the Senate. Signed by Senate President Karen Spilka, Clerk Michael Hurley, myself, John Keenan, dated the 13th day of October 2021. Congratulations, and here's to another 25 great years.
Senator Keene has been a big advocate for Quincy Access TV and public access TV in general. So we want to thank him for all his support. And he always says that when he's flipping through channels, he always makes sure to stop on Channel 8 and Channel 9. So we appreciate the support. So thank you, Senator. Next, I'd like to introduce or give thanks to Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey, who I don't know if he is still here or not. I know he had to sneak out, but I want to thank Michael Morrissey for coming and for his support and coming here tonight. Next, I want to introduce the president of the QATV Board of Directors, Jim Timmons. Jim?
Good evening, everyone, and really want to thank you for taking time out to come tonight and to stay tonight and share with us this great anniversary. QATV, as the prior speakers have said, is really all about who's here tonight. I always say there's nothing more eclectic than a QATV crowd. We really know how to put people together. And when I look out here, it's funny, I see over in the far corner a guy, Dan Minton, that I went to junior high with. Junior high is well before middle school, as you all, some of the older folks would know. But Dan and I went to junior high together, and Dan's been a big figure at QATV from his time with the Quincy Police Department. And then Fred Cussman, he and I went to high school together. And I coached baseball with Fred. Fred coached his son, I coached my son. So some deep roots in the community. But then I look out also and I see Leah Marie, and I don't wish to embarrass you. We've never met. We don't know each other, but big fan of your show. And I was standing out front a little earlier, and a woman walked by, and I'm like, geez, I know her, and I can't recall her name. And I was trying to think of where I had met her from, and I've never met her. It was Christine Cheever who has that show All Friends, Cabaret. I'm like, I know the woman from watching her on QATV. So one of the nice things about QATV is that type of dynamic, that people like Dan Minton that I go way back with, and then people I don't even know who are new to the growing Quincy's about, are all part of our community. We're working very hard to try to keep that fabric together and moving forward. John Caleri and the board members that I'm going to mention in a moment, we had large shoes to fill when Barry Welch left as president. Folks who I have always said about Quincy, we have a lot of terrific natural resources like Adams Field, Pageant Field, Blacks Creek, our coastline, but we also have terrific human resources. And I mentioned Barry Welch. Terrific guy, and then Executive Director Betty Campbell, who was here from the start. She was with QATV before there was even QATV. She goes back to what, Continental or American or whatever. But Betty really held the place together, got QATV launched, and now the current group is trying to bring QATV into the new generation. We just got a new truck that actually can go from point A to point B without breaking down, and it's all tricked out very nicely. We're starting to live stream more of our content, which has been a terrific development. So there are a lot of things that are going on. John's going to introduce the folks who work behind the scenes, who deserve all kinds of credit. I've been very impressed by our new executive director, John Caleri. We've really leaned on him. John has really done a terrific job. So I'll just mention a couple of more names and then grab a seat. Tonight, earlier, I was with my good friend Jim Mullaney, who's been on the board. I've been on the board the full 25 years. I'm a lawyer, and I actually filed the paperwork with the Secretary of State to start the corporation. And then Mayor Sheets asked me if I wanted to hang around. And to my wife's great delight, I'm out of the house every once in a while. So Jim Mullaney was here earlier and couldn't stay. And then another long-serving member who I believe is still here, Grace Busher. Grace has been a board member who has also been someone who's, probably of all of us, she's the one with the most technical knowledge. She's had her own show. She's trained people. She's really been a terrific asset to QATV, and it's been a delight to serve with you, Grace, on the board. I'm sitting with Mark Carey. Mark is a really talented audio video guy. He does all the mayor's communications. I see him outside playing with all kinds of things and creating content for the mayor's YouTube site, and he's given us a lot of great insight. And then there are two other members who are relatively new. One is Rick Radzik. He's been a board member now for several years, and he's so competent and knows so much. He was recently given the job of executive producer at the Sports Hub 98.5. That's the type of caliber that we have on the board. And then finally, our newest member is Erin Rodenheiser. Is Erin still here? Or? There's Erin. How you doing? Yeah. Erin's also got a background in media and has been a terrific addition to our board. So there's some good talent. It's a mix of old and new. You can guess where the old is, and you've just met the new. And we're all working very hard, but in particular, John, who will speak next, has been great leading the team in the studio every day. And finally, Mayor Koch was not able to make it tonight. And I'd just like to say, because I've seen this most directly as president of QATV and then interacting with him, a lot of the reason for the success in our city and the success that's attributed to Mayor Koch is because he's such a collaborative guy, and he works so hard with the private sector, with the elected officials. I know that he's worked with our city council very diligently. Anything he does, he includes the city council. Well, he's been a terrific ally to QATV over the past 12 years as we've developed. We've been able to get new equipment. He's worked with us on where we are now in Quincy over next door to the library. But also the mayor is working with us on future plans to have a studio in the downtown that's more part of the Quincy College campus, working with those folks and developing some collaboration there. So he's not only part of what's going on day to day, but he's trying to work toward the future of QATV and doing so in his collaborative, cooperative manner, very supportive. So he was not able to come tonight because he's at school committee too, but he really wanted me to thank everyone for being here because he recognizes what folks who are here tonight have done for QATV. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John to talk about the staff. And again, thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Jim. Jim was just making sure the football game on Friday has coverage because he wants to try to sneak out of doing play-by-play with me. I'm sure if you've tuned in to the football games or basketball games, you've heard Jim and I do a lot of different games, and certainly something I enjoy doing with Jim, and I think Jim likes to do with me, hopefully, as well. But, it's something that we like to do and get out and about in the city. And, again, just one of the many things to get those games out there to the citizens of Quincy that we also have fun doing as well. And I know my wife likes it when I'm out of the house sometimes too. So, moving on. So as Jim said, I do want to thank the staff of Quincy Access TV for all the hard work that they do. Ryan McWade, who's a new hire for QATV, part-time. Was a Quincy College work-study student. Unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight, but he's been a great addition going out and getting a lot of different sports, speaking of that, recently. So I want to thank Ryan. And someone, of course, who everyone knows at QATV is Bill Early. Bill, again, couldn't be here tonight, and actually he is retired from QATV as well. So Bill said that, he had enjoyed all his time at Quincy Access TV. Jim talked about some people that have been around since day one. Bill was in the very first class when cable television came to Quincy back in 1981-82. He was in the very first class of people that went through training to learn how to become a TV producer. And ever since then, he's been a part of Quincy Community TV and Quincy Access TV as a producer, and of course, as you know him, as a trainer and as an educator to get all of you up to speed with things. So again, unfortunately, Bill couldn't be here, but I want to thank Bill for all his hard work and dedication to QATV, and of course, one of the many faces you've seen. So thank you, Bill. I know you're watching at home on the replay, so thank you, Bill. One of the other faces of QATV who you hear and see and is behind the camera here tonight is Joe Catalano. Last March, when everything shut down due to COVID and we had to adapt to things at QATV, Joe was right there ready to adapt for us and with us. We gave him all kinds of equipment to bring home, and he continued AM Quincy from his house, producing interviews, getting all kinds of interviews done. And I forget what the tally is since last March, but it's 250, 300 interviews Joe has done since last March to keep the citizens informed. And especially during those first couple of months when COVID really hit, it was everything that Joe was doing was to inform the residents of Quincy, stay up to date, and to make sure, and he didn't miss a beat, and he continues to adapt and move forward and getting even more content out there. So I want to thank Joe for all his hard work. In the mornings, he's the first one in at 4:30 in the morning, and he stays a lot more than he should each day. So I want to thank Joe for all his work and continue. One of those behind-the-scenes persons that Jim mentioned is Michael Jarvie, who's our media specialist and makes sure all that programming does get on the air, including school committee, where he was back at the studio tonight to make sure everything was going to run and smoothly. Michael didn't miss a beat. He was one of those guys that when he was working from home, he was swapping files from different computers back and forth over the network, and then finally coming in, all the new equipment that we have, he picked up on it so quickly and has really get us up to speed. speed. We had a server failure not that long ago, and we were turning to Michael to make sure programming could still get on. He didn't miss a beat. He turned right into it, and then when we finally got the new equipment, he jumped right into it as well. And without Michael, our channel would be not as much on there as well. So I want to thank Michael, again, back at the studio to make sure everything's running smoothly. So thank you, Michael. We certainly appreciate all your hard work. We have a couple of anniversaries for Quincy Access TV staff as well, and I'm going to embarrass her and have her come up. Carol Thurman, if you would like to come on up, please. Carol's our graphic designer and does a little bit of everything at QATV as well. Carol did a bulk of the work to make sure this party was going to get going here today, and to make sure that I was staying sane when everything seemed to be going into a handbasket. She was like, everything's going to be okay, John. We've got it under control. And I was always making sure, did you do this? Did you do that? And I appreciate that. And of course, if you've ever watched the channel, all the bulletin board message are Carol's work to make sure everything looks different. It's not just that the text up there, it's images, it's excitement, it's making sure you can see what's going on, doing all the work to make sure these things get out there and publicized for events in the city of Quincy. And this is Carol's 20th anniversary of working at QATV. So I want to thank Carol. And just a small token of our appreciation, Carol. So thank you very much again. 20 years at QATV. It's been a fixture here for such a long time, so we thank you very much.
I just want to say how much I've loved working at QATV, and it does feel like a giant family. And I haven't seen anybody for a long time, and it's good to see everybody's faces. And honestly, I love you all, and thanks, because this has been a great place to work. Thank you, John.
Next staff member who's also celebrating 20 years at QATV is Mark Crosby. Mark, if you would come up, please. It was mentioned by Senator Keenan, all those great PSAs that you see on TV and Representative Ayers. Mark is probably the one that has done all those great PSAs that you've seen, animating people like Captain Tom Lyons, who's here tonight, and Ruth Jones, and all the PSAs with John Sullivan to make sure that recycling gets put out, and all the other different things that are on the channel. Those are just a minuscule amount of what Mark does at QATV. Of course, Mark's always behind all the government meetings, making sure the city council gets on time, and license board and zoning board, and whether it's a late evening at City Hall or at the studio editing, making sure things get out there. Mark's behind there, spends long hours in front of Lydia, the editing station in the classroom, who many of you have sat in front of as well, to make sure things get produced. And the professionalism that Mark shows, if it's not perfect, he wants to make sure it does get perfect so it can get out there. And that is shown in all the awards that Mark has won over the number of years as well. And just recently won an award with John Sullivan for Recycling PSA as well. So again, Mark, 20 years at QATV, thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. As I look out and see this group gathered before me, so many people that hopefully I'll talk to before the end of the night, if I haven't talked to you already, but you are all a part of QATV, and you are all a part of why my 20 years has been such a success. So I want to thank you for allowing me to do programming and public service announcements with you. So I look forward to more years. Again, I can't thank you, John, enough, my colleagues, and all of you for supporting local access television.
Mark will go out and do different shoots, and always is like, Mark, it's going to be a single camera shoot. He's like, no, I'm going to bring 4 or 5. And I'm like, okay. And I always think, oh, he's making so much work, but then it comes out and it's a great looking production, and it shows. So he spends the extra time to make sure it does that. And so again, Mark, thank you for all the hard work. We appreciate it. Finally, the longest serving staff member of QATV, been with us since day one, all 25 years, is Chris Potter. Chris? Chris is making sure that the channels are actually staying on the air, and if they're not on the air, he's on with Comcast. Why isn't our channel on the air? Why aren't the other channels on the air? And just making sure that we get the equal treatment that we deserve when people are trying to watch the city council meetings or the sports or the shows that you all produced here. Chris is making sure that they look good on QATV. He's making sure our equipment is up and running to make sure people can take it out and produce their programming. He has been spending way too many hours in our new production truck to trying to get all the stuff that's been going on. All of the issues because of COVID with shortages and equipment failures that have been coming in. Chris has been making sure and breaking his back each day to make sure we can get that out there, amongst all the other things that are going on at the studio and around the city as well. Chris has a wealth of knowledge of the infrastructure in Quincy. When everything was built up in Quincy, Chris knows where all those cables are running and that the path are on Hancock Street or Southern Artery, wherever it might be. Chris knows where those are. So we can turn to him, and when people from Comcast say, oh, I don't know where this runs, Chris pulls out the map and drawing and goes, it goes right here, and this is where it should be, and by golly, that's exactly where it is. So again, Chris, thank you very much. Again, 25 years at QATV, and certainly the place wouldn't be what it is without you, so thank you very much. So.
I think I've got another 25 years in me. I hope so. Geez, speaking of Bill Early, I covered football games with Bill Early back in the old Continental Cablevision truck, starting when I was 16. Last year was the first Thanksgiving Day football game that I missed, only because of COVID. So there's been a lot of 4 or 5 a.m. mornings at the stadium, you name it. Hey, whether I'm buried behind a rack or I'm out there in the freezing cold or the sweltering sun doing Flag Day football, I mean, that's what we do. That's why we're here, and we love it. You know, not many people can say they go to work every day and truly love what they do. And that's us, that's the whole staff. And, you know, we couldn't do it without all you guys. Like I said, the rest of the staff, the board of directors, they don't bat an eyelash when I say, we really need new cameras and they're gonna cost $100,000. Jim's telling me to be quiet over there. But yeah, I mean, we really have, we're one of the top studios in the state. And you know, there's a reason why. You know, it's not just the equipment, it's the people using it. That's you guys, it's the staff, it's everybody. So thank you.
It was definitely weird on Thanksgiving morning, waking up at 8 o'clock and not being at the stadium for 3.5 hours already. But Chris is always the first one at the stadium, getting the truck ready on Thanksgiving morning. He's the first one at the Flag Day parade or the Christmas parade, and the last one to leave when he's pulling the truck back in to the Park and Rec complex. So again, thank you, Chris, and hopefully we'll be at the stadium at 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving morning this year. So again, I want to thank all the staff and the volunteers and members of QATV. Like Chris said, you are what make QATV what it is. Just last week, we had the privilege of hosting a number of access stations for a meet and greet from Mass Access, which is the group of access stations from all around Massachusetts. And there were about 20 people that came from different stations, and all of them were saying how great the studio was at QATV. One of the things that many people mentioned to me was the control room of Studio A. And they said, this is the biggest control room I've ever seen. This is great. You go to some other access stations and you are cramped into a little room where there's 3 people can maybe sit. Studio B is their big studio, if you will. So when you're trying to fit 4 or 5 people in Studio B in the control room, you can't. And that's one of the things that when the studio was built, it was built, yes, to obviously to be used, but also as a learning area, so people could stay behind the director or the technical director and actually see and learn what was happening before they went out and did it. And that's one of the things when the board of directors and Betty and Chris built the studio, they had that in mind, the space that was going to be needed for training people that some places in Massachusetts don't have. And and around the country. And we did have the truck there last week as well, and people were amazed at the truck. They thought it was fantastic, and they wanted updates. Says, please let us know when it's out there. We want to see what it looks like, and we're excited for you to be out there and use that new truck. So we're excited to get that out there. We're excited to have you back in the studio. We are open. We encourage you to come back to QATV. If you want to take out a camcorder, or if you want to come into Studio A or Studio B, or if you want to edit something, please give us a call. We want you to come back and get the production back up to where it was before COVID hit us. The staff has been in studio pretty much since everything has happened, making sure things back, but we want to have you come back as well to get that programming. Again, because that's what makes it exciting for us to come in, to see all the new shows that you're producing, that we can help you produce those shows. And it makes it different for us each day too, because it's exciting for you to come in and do that show, and it's exciting for us to see you accomplish that show and let us know. Tune in Friday at 8 p.m. because it's going to be on QATV Channel 8, and the excitement that you have to then tell people that it's going to be on, so that makes it all worthwhile for us. So again, we want to thank you. We want to thank all of our community partners and nonprofits and the agencies that we partner with to make sure that the program can get on QATV and to get the word out there to inform residents of what's happening in the city of Quincy. So again, to wrap it up, thank you very much. 25 years, it's gone by very quickly, and we're excited for all the future and excitement and prosperity that's going to be coming to QATV. So thank you very much for a great evening. We're happy you could all come. Thank you.